Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to NTAP presents CampusCare EdTalks. Today, we have with us a very special guest. He's an international best-selling author, an educator, and a renowned mentor to millions of people across the globe. It is my honor to present Mr. Shiv Khera. He inspires and encourages people to unlock their true potential and help them lead a life of integrity, respect, and responsibility. These three words have been etched into NTAB as well. He has sold over 8 million copies of his book, You Can Win, and has transformed people in a very huge manner. Tens of thousands of people have been benefited by him through his dynamic workshops. So, in this social era of dynamic social distancing, I have Sir sitting over there, and now I will request him to please come and join NTAP Campus Care Ed Talks. Sir, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Himanshu. Chai sir ko de dijiyega udhar. Thank you very much for the kind words. I'm indeed grateful to you and all the participants and viewers that are joining us. Folks, good evening to all of you, and I'm grateful that you have pulled your time to come over. Now, I must at the outset clarify that I don't know of anybody in this world today who has all the answers. Certainly, I don't have all the answers. But just to share with you my background, my academics is I'm a BCom 3rd division. I failed in my 10th. That's my academics. And I come from a business background. We had coal mines in India, close to 1,000 people working. And the mines got nationalized, the government took over. And right from being a mine owner, we came on the street. Street means street. My father had died when I was in college. We were left with the liabilities and the assets were gone. And I was married just 4 weeks then. And I remember a day came when a year later my daughter was born. I did not have $10 to buy milk that night. And I tried my hands on 3 businesses with no money and I failed in all. And eventually, I decided to leave India. I went to US, initially went to Toronto, started life with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door, and then gradually got into selling vacuum cleaners door to door, and then got into selling life insurance totally by accident. And at that point, I was literally on the verge of being fired. That is the time there were some turning points which I will share as I go along. But God was kind. I moved on to the US, got into 3 businesses. I bought out a company out of California in 1984 and started New Jersey operation with no clients. And I sold my company with close to 500 clients. Now, why do I share my life with you? There are a few reasons. I've had 3 major setbacks in my life. And major setback means I was minus. And that is why the topic, how to turn a setback into a comeback. And now important thing is, I've been doing corporate training for the past almost 30 years. And when we do corporate training, Himanshu, when we do corporate training, I kick off my program by saying that what I am doing in the corporate here today, I'm doing repair work. I am repairing. Now, if you prepare them, you won't have to repair them. And where do you prepare them? You prepare them in schools and colleges. And very important thing I learned is just having professional qualifications does not make a professional. And this is really, as we go along, we're going to address a number of issues as we go. Now, the subtitle comes in, how to overcome challenges and prepare to accelerate success. How do we cope with the current crisis? Now, what are the challenges that we are facing today? The coronavirus is invading from one city to another. It has literally taken over the world. And two, overcrowded hospitals and shortage of supplies and medical equipment. Orders in the business are getting canceled. Factories are closing. Massive unemployment has taken place. And death rate has gone up. This is the current scenario all over the world. Now, obviously, it has shaken up the world. Now, because of this, there has become a lot of uncertainty outside, and nothing is predictable. Nobody can predict when does this virus stop. Is there a cutoff point? Nobody can predict that. Therefore, it is making people insecure, and it is putting people into personal hardships. And with the result, people are feeling a lot of stress, anxiety, frustration, depression, and anger has come into people. Now, folks, stress cannot be avoided, nor can it be denied. And if it is, it comes back stronger and lasts longer. And anybody who says, I don't have stress, belongs into the lunatic asylum. We all have stress. We cannot avoid stress. What we can do is we can handle stress. And by the way, all stress is not bad. In fact, many times stress is what makes people perform. And in fact, it forces people to think out of the box and come up with solutions. And you see, the athlete who is competing at the Olympics, is he not under stress? If he's not under stress, he can't perform. But you see, what he does is he utilizes the stress power to positive power, and it is the stress that makes him perform. Now, with that in mind, we must understand stress is not bad, and stress is something we can all handle. All of us can handle stress. But what we cannot handle is chronic stress. When stress becomes chronic, that is the time people break down. Now, think about it, folks. How come under the same set of circumstances, some people break records while others break themselves? I'm going to say something which I will repeat later. Folks, let us not overrate the crisis and threat that we face. I repeat, let us not overrate the crisis and the threat we are facing, and let us not underrate our strength to fight and win. I repeat, let us not underrate our strength to fight and win. Now, this virus, this crisis is impacting us three ways. Himanshu, hear this. It is impacting us three ways. One, it is impacting our life. It is impacting our livelihood. It is impacting our lifestyle. Now, how is it impacting our life? One, none of us know. Nobody knows who will be in quarantine next. Nobody knows. Number two, what we do, where we go, who we meet, could be a matter of life and death for us today. I repeat, where we go, what we do, who we meet, could be a matter of life and death to any one of us today. Therefore, it has severely impacted our life. Now, second is our livelihood. Everybody's income has stopped. Individual incomes have stopped. Enterprises, business people, their incomes have stopped. Government incomes have stopped. Government is not getting any income. They are not getting any taxes. So income everywhere has stopped, micro and macro level everywhere. Now, with the stopped income, there are major issues. How do people handle the crisis without income? Now, if you have no livelihood, you can't maintain life anyway. You'd rather be dead. So we need a livelihood. How do we manage livelihood? Now, here's something important. We need to see currently where we stand, and two, where we stand into the future. One is there are three kinds of people in this world financially. One is the super rich, possibly the Birlas, the Tatas, the Adanis, the Ambanis. They are super rich. And I will be totally surprised if they have a liquidity cash flow crunch. I'll be totally surprised. Now, maybe some are overextended, but as I said, I will be totally surprised if they have a cash flow problem. They don't have a problem at all. Now, the second category of people is the mediocre, people like me and possibly many others, where we have to evaluate. We have some savings during our lifetime that we did. How long will it last? What do we have to fall back on? And when we did financial planning for our clients in the US, we always told them you must have 1 year of your income in reserve, where you should be able to access that money within 1 week. 6 months of that 1 year income should be considered as emergency accident fund. Emergency fund should be accessible within 24 hours because accidents in life and emergencies in life don't warn you in advance. That is why they call accidents. So you should be able to access emergency fund within less than 24 hours. And opportunity fund is the balance 6 months. Now, if a person doesn't have it, it's a little too late to have it. But going forward, they need to understand what do they need to do. And one more thing on livelihood. It has literally forced people that they need to distinguish between active income and passive income. We go out work, we get money. We go out work, we get money. We go out work, we get money. We stop going to work, we don't get money. So now there is no work. Many people have been retrenched. Many people have been laid off. Many people have been given unpaid vacation. They said, all right, rather than firing you, let them give unpaid vacation. And many people have taken pay cuts voluntarily. Otherwise, the option is to fire them. What do you do? So that is the second category of people where the incomes have stopped. Now, there's a third category of people. These are mediocre people. And the third category of people is the mediocre people. I'm sorry, the poor people. They are the people who are daily wage earners. They earn in the evening and they eat. They earn during the day, eat. Hourly, daily wages worker. They are the worst hit. And that is the sad part. And we will address how do we handle that scenario. Now, when we talk of livelihood, how is it going to impact the future? I met a banker about 2 weeks ago because they are part of essential services. He came to me and I asked him, I said, tell me, you're working with skeleton staff. What is your strength of the staff? He said, we're working about 30% staff right now. And I said, has your efficiency gone down by 70%? Are you working at 30% efficiency levels? He said, no, sir. We are working at close to 80 to 90% efficiency levels. I said, how's that? He said, there were many, many people earlier who were doing physical banking. We have called each one and put them on digital platform. Senior citizens who did not understand technology at all, we're calling each one and putting them on digital platform. And with all these people coming on digital platform, we have brought our efficiency level to 80% around there with 30% staff. So my next question came to him was, does that mean that the balance 70% who are not working today, they were redundant before, or they will become redundant after now? The crisis is over. Will they become redundant now? Well, he said, sir, that is yet to be seen. But there are many people who are working from home. So I asked him two questions. One, how will you decide who to keep, who not to keep? And how is the work at home scene working? He said, sir, there are 4 kinds of people in any organization. One is a superstar. Superstars are those people who are proactive, they are trustworthy, they have integrity, and they pitch in with ideas. They come up and they do the job. When they say they've done the job, there is integrity, and if you check it, it is done. So you trust them. There is a lot of trust factor involved. They are your superstars who pitch in and give you ideas to take the organization forward. That is superstar. The second category of people are the doers. You tell them to do it, 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 but then you have to supervise and somehow manage them right. Otherwise, jobs don't get done. And the third category of people is the talkers. They're talkers and they don't want to do anything. And if they do, they only want to do what they can get by with. So you have no reason to fire them, but they only do what they can get by with, and that's the end of it. And the fourth category of people is the troublemakers. Every company has these four categories. And he said, we need to evaluate, get rid of the talkers and the troublemakers, and that's it. Now, as far as working from home, how is it working? He said, sir, the 80-20 rule applies here. And the 80-20 rule says 20% of people who are working from home, they're responsible, they do their job right, and their output has gone up. But 80% people, they need supervision. You don't supervise, they don't do the job. And even if you quantify, well, then I said, why don't you put the compensation based on the output, productivity? The reward should be tied to results. Well, he said the 80% people, in spite of giving them targets, they still need supervision. That is one category. And he said those are the people who responsibilities are not there, maturity levels are not there. And many people don't understand that working from home does not mean it is a paid vacation. I repeat, working from home does not mean it is a paid vacation. Okay, this is the livelihood part. Now, let us come to the lifestyle part. Now, till the lockdown came, everybody was on the fast lane. We were running all the way. We don't know where we were running, but we were all running. We had no time. Now, look at this. The amount of time-saving devices we have today, we have never had that many in history, and yet we did not have any time. You know why? Because somewhere we messed up our priorities. And when we mess up our priorities, we forget to distinguish between what's urgent in life and what's important in life. See, urgent may or may not be important, and important may or may not be urgent. But the big important thing is that whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. See, health is important. Exercising every day is important, but it's not urgent. But if I ignore my health long enough, guess what happens? I'll end up in the hospital. Now, in life, relationships are important, but they're not urgent. But if we ignore relationship long enough, guess what happens? We'll start talking to our lawyers. Anything that is important, we ignore it, it converts into urgent. Now, here is the important thing. I'm not here just preaching, by the way. I have been guilty myself of messing up my priorities. But this lockdown period has literally forced people to think back their priorities. And you ask people, why do you go to work? And they say, I work for my family. Why do you work hard? I work hard for my family. Who are the most important people in your life? My family. Who are the most neglected? Also my family. Interesting. The most important have become the most neglected also. This is sad, but true. But the lockdown has literally forced people to step back and say, wait a minute, I was on the fast lane. But was I in the right direction? Was my direction right? So now people are saying that, remember, direction is much more important than speed. Because if we have speed and we're going in the wrong direction, we'll go much further in the wrong direction. So it has forced people to step backwards and say, buddy, wait a minute, set up our priorities. And direction is much, much, much more important than speed. This is our lifestyle change. Now, lifestyle change has made two more things. People are looking at discretionary spending and non-discretionary spending. People have started thinking that money in the bank is more important than having 30 shirts in the closet. And people have also started thinking that I would rather buy a small vehicle than buy a car of 40, 50, 30, 60 lakhs. Money in the bank is more precious. They've started realizing where we are coming from. Okay, so we will address as we go along a few of these things a little further. Now, the only parallel in history are two incidents in life where we can compare a similar crisis that came 100 years ago. One is the Spanish flu that came in the year 1918 and went through another year and a half, and till 1919 it went on. And guess what? 50 million people died. 50 million people. Now, I'm not here to scare, but I want to make people aware. And what was important was, in 1918, people thought the crisis is over. But no. There was a second phase. It came back again. And people dropped their guard. It came back again. And it hit them so hard that the major casualties took place in the year 1919. And 50 million people died. Now, the second reference point that we have is to this crisis is economic crisis was the Great Depression of 1929 or 1930. During the Great Depression, Wall Street collapsed. There was total panic. Banks failed. Savings were wiped out. And $1,000 became $150. 15 million people got unemployed. Now, 15 million people unemployed in 1929 is equal to 60 million unemployed today. Why? Because population in US was 120 million then. Today it's 330 million. With the result, the magnitude is much higher. Now, interesting, this was the dark side of the scenario. Now, let us look at the positive side, how things changed for some people only. But unemployment went up. But history shows one thing. Whenever unemployment goes up, self-employment also goes up. I repeat, whenever unemployment goes up, self-employment also goes up. And during that depression, there was a breed of entrepreneurs who started little business. And eventually today, they have become a household name in the United States. I'm going to share with you 3 examples. But here is the important thing. Now, these people who started at that time, they were called positive entrepreneurs, or they were survivalists. They survived. They were survivalist entrepreneurs. Now, they didn't have money. They did not have risk-taking ability. They were not techies. They were not innovative. They were not educated either. But they had one thing. They were positive. They were positive, and they were solution-focused. Now, there are some people in this world who are problem-focused. Henry Ford said, kick them out. We're not stupid. We understand there are problems in life, but we want solution-focused people, not problem-focused. You know what a problem-focused is? You give them a solution, they give you a problem. They have a problem for every solution. Henry Ford said, kick them out. Now, I'll share with you 3 examples. One was a man by the name of George Jenkins. In his neighborhood, in an abandoned place, he started a little outlet shop for non-perishable but durable goods. Why non-perishable? Because if they perished, there would be total loss. He did not have ability to take a risk. And why durable? He said, if it doesn't sell, at least I and my family can use it. He started that shop in an abandoned place 100 years ago. And today, he has 1,000 stores, outlets in the United States. His turnover is $30 billion. His net worth is $6 billion. And the store's name is Publix Supermarket, 1,000 outlets. That's one. Second example was a man. In fact, there were two brothers in California called Gallo brothers. Great Depression hit them badly. They started crushing grapes and started making wine out of it. But the market was so bad, nobody would buy his wine. They had to sell the wine 50% below market. Then, and today, Gallo Winery has 25% of the market share in the United States. They're worth $10 billion. It is one of the largest wineries in the United States, called Gallo Wineries. Now, the third example I'll share with you, there was a man by the name of Simplot. He had a small patch of land in Idaho. And he started cultivating potatoes. Now, what he could not sell, he ate. But what he could not eat started rotting. Now, he could not afford the loss. So he created a system to freeze them. And today, he's called the French fries kings of the United States. He accounts for 33% of the French fries business in the US. And he's called the potato king. He's worth about 10 or 12 billion dollars. Now, the examples I shared with you does not mean that each one of us will become a billionaire and each one of us can do the same thing. I'm not saying that at all. Just catch the spirit. All these people, they all had major problems and they redefined the word success. Success is not absence of problems, but it is overcoming problems. They redefined the word success. And today, that is the spirit we need in our country, in our world today. That's what we need again. Now, with that in mind, this virus has impacted us three ways again further. One, it has impacted us physically. Two, economically. And three, psychologically. Now, physically or medically, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not qualified to speak on it. But there's enough information running from WHO, which has been transmitted, and news does it, enough of it. But all I can talk about is hygiene factor. Now, I remember when we were kids, our parents and teachers, hear this, our parents and teachers taught us very clearly and they enforced it. It was not only in words, they made sure we did it. Which is what I say, you prepare them, you won't have to repair them later. You prepare them, you won't have to repair them. Prepare and prevent, don't repair and repent. Now, they taught us hand wash. Before you go anywhere, wash. After you come anywhere, wash. Go to the bathroom, you wash. Come back out of the bathroom, you wash. Touch anything, you wash. Touch currency, you wash. You never eat food before you wash your hands. Never. Now, these hygienic values, I think many of us, and maybe I'm guilty myself, many of us have forgotten to give it to our kids and grandkids, or even to our domestic help, or even to our help in our offices. Now, this is one side of the picture, but there's a flip side to it. And the dichotomy is that there are many people who are washing their hands diligently, no doubt about it, but they're insensitive to reality. How is that? Now, there are people who go wash hands, and while they are rubbing soap, they leave the tap on. And do you know, while the tap is running and you're running washing hands like this, you lose 5 liters of water if the tap keeps running. 5 liters of water. And if this person washes hands 20 times a day, he's wasted 100 liters of water. 1%. 100 liters of water wasted, gone. And if you have 5 people in your house, only one house, 500 people, 500 liters of water is wasted. And the next world war will be on water shortage. We need to understand what we're doing. This is social responsibility. We talk of social distance today. That's true. But there is something called social responsibility. Now, there's another side to it. There are many hundreds of millions of people who are saying, we don't even have drinking water, forget washing hands. How do you wash hands? We don't have drinking water either. Now, this is one side of the picture, the hygiene part. But the other day, I heard a doctor talk on the television. He says the occupancy in the hospital has gone down. I'm not talking the coronavirus patient. I'm talking of the other patient who used to come. And the reason given was, he said, since there is no traffic outside on the street, there's no air pollution. So respiratory problems are not there anymore. And 2, since the cars are not on the road, there are no road accidents. So no road accidents, people are coming in. And since the hygiene level and sanitary conditions have improved so much, infections are not taking place. So people have stopped coming. He says we have under occupancy by 50-60%, which is a good problem to have. But we need to understand where we are. Can we not make some of these things more permanent? Maybe not all, but some of them, yes. Okay, that is the physical side of it. Now let us talk of the economical side. The world is going to be changing very drastically after this crisis is over. You see, today, production is taking place 25 miles away from consumption. And people are saying that dependence on another country, which literally could blackmail you, what would you do at that time? 25 miles away, 25,000 miles away. And are you aware? I just heard on the TV that United States depends on China for 97% of the pharma products. 97% of the pharma products. So they said, oh, wait. We need to wake up. We all need to become self-sufficient, number 1. And number 2, production must come closer to consumption now. You don't have to manufacture 25,000 miles away anymore. Why were you manufacturing earlier 25,000 miles away? Maybe because of labor cost. But today, with artificial intelligence, with robotics, your manpower has gone down by almost 90%. 90%. Therefore, the labor component is not that crucial anymore. I just had a friend of mine who set up a factory. He had almost 1,000 people working on the new plant. He has got only 70 people working. That's it. That means 90% people he doesn't need anymore. Well, anyway, this is the economic side, and many other elements will need to come. And a very important thing is that today for business entrepreneurs, they are running into major cash flow problems. And they're looking for government bailouts. Many governments are bailing out. And bailout here means they're not looking for loans because they cannot afford additional debt. They have to be given grants today. Loans will not do the job anymore. Okay, that is as far as the economic side is concerned. Now, the third is psychological side. 1, physical, economical, and psychological. Psychological is our emotional side. People who are emotionally strong, actually, they're becoming stronger. And out of this crisis, they're gaining more strength. And people who are emotionally weak, they are the ones who are going into stress, anxiety, depression, and anger. And by the way, those are the people who are creating bigger problems in their homes. And pretty much it shows in US and many other countries that domestic violence has gone up by 50%. Domestic violence has gone up by 50%. So psychological elements are huge, massive. Now, so much for the crisis and the challenge that we are facing. Now, let us look at the ways how we can cope with this crisis. That is what we're looking for, is coping mechanism. Okay. And if you want to take this down, you're most welcome to do it. Step one, I'm going to share with you about 9 steps. Step one says to cope with the crisis is the Serenity Prayer. Folks, this prayer, in my opinion, is the gist of life. And I heard this about 45 years ago, and I do not leave home without doing this prayer. And I've faced many, many challenges in my life. And this prayer has given me a lot of strength to overcome them. And it goes like this. It was given by a man called Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the man who wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. So when I was in US, he was doing a program, and there were about 1,000 people. And as he came in, he looked at the audience and he said, "You people appear very cool, calm, and collected. It seems nobody has a problem here." Then he asked people, "Does anybody have a problem here?" So everybody raised their hand. Of course, we have a problem. Who doesn't have a problem? And then his second question was, how many people would like to get rid of the problem? Again, everybody raised their hand, want to get rid of the problem. Then he said something. He said, "On my way here to this congregation, I came across a place where I saw there were some people all stretched out, relaxed. They had no problem at all. How many people would like to know where that place is?" So everybody raised their hand. And then he said, 2 blocks away from here, there is a cemetery. There are people lying there, stretched out, totally relaxed. They have no problem at all. And then he asked, how many people would like to get rid of the problem? Nobody raised their hand. Everybody put their hand in their pocket. Then Dr. Peale said that day, "Remember, problem is a sign of life. So long as we are alive, we shall have problems. The day we don't have problems, we'd be dead. And when you're running short of problems, that is a time to get on your knees and pray to God. Don't you trust me anymore? Send me some problems." But that day, Dr. Peale said, we cannot solve all our problems, but we can handle them. And then he said, he gave a serenity prayer, which I've been practicing since then. And it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference, what I can and what I cannot. I repeat, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference, what I can and what I cannot. Folks, if you analyze and dissect this little prayer, it pretty much answers a lot. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now, there are many things in life that beyond us, we cannot change them. Everything in life is not within our control. I didn't choose my parents, neither did you. I didn't decide where I was going to be born, neither did you. You see, if this is my height and this is the color of my skin, there's nothing I can do about it. And granted, some people are born deformed. What wrong did they do? Who knows? And granted, sometimes bad things do happen to good people for no fault of their own. What wrong did they do? Who knows? How did this virus come? I don't know. Who knows? But it's here. But it says, if I cannot change, then let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. Because many times in life, we keep fighting the things we just cannot change. And we bring stress into our lives and we become totally paralyzed and unproductive. I repeat, we become paralyzed with stress and we become unproductive. So if I can't change, then let me accept it graciously. And if I can change, then give me the guts and courage to do it and wisdom to know what I can and what I cannot. Now, when I wrote my book, You Can Win, and the new one, You Can Achieve More, I took this thought 2 steps forward and I wrote in that life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. Seems like a contradiction, but not really. Now, how is life full of choices? See, if I ill-treat you, I've chosen to be ill-treated, haven't I? If I treat you with discourtesy, I've chosen to be treated with discourtesy, haven't I? If I light up a cigarette, I've chosen to invite cancer, haven't I? If I drink and drive, I've chosen to invite an accident, haven't I? If I exercise regularly, I've chosen to invite good health, haven't I? If I eat too much, I've chosen to invite obesity, haven't I? Now remember, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. Folks, what is success? Success is a series of positive choices in life is called success. And series of negative choices in life is called failure. Now, how is life full of compromises? Everything in life is not under our control. See, sometimes nature gives us a lemon. Choice is ours. Do we cry or do we make lemonade? As somebody said beautifully, in life, we cannot choose the cards that are dealt to us. What we can choose is how we play the game. This is the time to see how we play the game. Now, sometimes people ask me, especially the press, Mr. Khera, tell me, people who are successful, don't they make mistakes in life? And people who are failures, so-called failures, don't they do positive things in life? And my answer is that people who are successful, they do make mistakes. But keep in mind, a person does not become a failure by making a mistake once in a while. They become a failure when they repeat the same mistake again and again and again and again. So making a mistake once in a while, nobody becomes a failure. If you know somebody who's never done made any mistake, then you know somebody who's never done anything anyway. Making a mistake is not the end of the world, but realizing and repeating the same mistake is the end of the world. Okay. And same thing, people who are failures, they do something positive once in a while, but doing something positive once in a while does not bring success. You got to repeat the same positive behavior again and again. That's what brings success. That is step 1. And when we do our 3-day leadership program and 5-day leadership program, we talk into putting all this into action plan. How do we implement all this? Step 2. Step 2, to cope with the crisis. Folks, limit your exposure to news to only twice a day, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. Limit your exposure to news only twice a day, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. Why? because news is so negative, it is so depressing that it can put any sane person to the lunatic asylum and give depression to anybody. And you notice there are some people who wake up in the morning and they turn the TV on and immediately they want to see the score as if it's a cricket match between England and Australia. And they want to see the score. How many died? How many infected? How many died? How many infected? How many died? And they see every country. They check out all through the world. And then once they do one round completely, then they switch the channel as if the score has changed. And they switch the second channel, third channel, fourth channel, and they keep switching channels and they keep saying the death infected. And they watch it from morning, 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. 12 to 14 hours, they watch that same negativity. And at the end of the day, the guy says, hey, I'm depressed. Of course you are. And you will be. And when you are depressed, your immunity goes down and the chances of catching the viral are much greater. So limit your exposure to news only twice a day, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and that's it. The news is not changing. And one more thing, get your information from reliable sources. There's so much of fake information going all everywhere. Get your information from reliable sources. You need to understand because these are inviting stress and depression. Okay, step 3. Step 3 is convert your TV time to productive time. Convert your TV time to productive time. How do you do that? A survey was conducted in the US before the crisis, by the way. And it said that average American watches 3 to 4 hours of TV per day. And I believe very strongly this survey is good enough all over the world. 3 to 4 hours TV per day. And this is without the crisis. Right now, there are people watching 8-10 hours of TV a day. But interestingly, a man bought a new TV. A friend of him came and visited him, saw the new TV, very impressed. So he asked his buddy, how much did this TV cost? He said, $1,000. He said, really? He said, yeah. He said, have you ever checked? It is only $1,000. He said, yeah. He said, what is your annual income? He said, I make $100,000 a year. He said, have you ever calculated what is your hourly rate time-wise? He said, if you make $100,000 a day, a year, and if you work 2,000 hours a year, your hourly rate comes to $50 per hour. And if you watch 3 hours of TV per day, that means $150 per day, multiplied 365. You know something? It comes to $55,000 per year. This TV is not cost you $1,000. This TV is costing you $55,000 per year. That is more than your EMI on a $500,000 home. Do you realize that? Now, don't get me wrong. We all like to watch TV. It is relaxing. You have a good movie and you have a nice play. It's wonderful. But you know something? There are people who sit there and all the actors on the play and the movies, they're getting paid by who? You. You are paying for him. You need to understand, how do you convert your TV time into productive time? In my new book that was launched, You Can Achieve More, I've given a survey that about 85% of millionaires and billionaires today in the world are first generation. Only 15% are coming from inheritance. I repeat, 85% of millionaires and billionaires today are first generation. And they were asked, how did you get so much financial success in such a short time? And the answer was, we read books. And they were asked, how many books? He said, we read books, about 50 books a year. 50 books a year means one book a week. Now look at this. Multimillionaires and billionaires running big businesses still have time to read one book a week. And they were asked, what kind of books do you read? And the answer was, we only read self-help books. We don't read fiction. Why? Fiction is fiction. That is not real life stuff. But a self-help book, they said, one good idea could be worth $1 million. He said, we have no time to waste. We believe in continuous learning, and the income has gone up. Now, there is a correlation between learning, earning, learning, earning, learning, earning. You learn and you earn, you earn and you learn. The busiest people read one book a week. And the people who are not employed do nothing. They have no time. And they will complain, I got nothing. I don't have the money to buy books. You know something? There are libraries everywhere. They don't even cost you money. Every locality, every neighborhood has library. You can get a free book from there. Borrow it. But they won't do it. Now, why books? Folks, a good book gives you wisdom of ages in a capsule form. Avoids pitfalls. Avoid pitfalls. And a serious reader never borrows or lends their books. I repeat, a serious reader will never borrow or lend books. I've had many times people come to me and they say, Mr. Khera, I got a new book. Wonderful. I can lend it to you. I said, no, sir. Give it to me, gift it to me, sell it to me. Don't lend it to me because I will not give it back to you. Why? Because when I read a book, I always underline with a pencil or mark or highlight. Why? Because I realized one thing, that reading a good book once is never good enough. You know why? Because when we read the book the second time, we don't find anything new in the book because nothing has changed there. But you know something? When we read the book second time, we find something new in ourselves. We are able to relate and we find something new in ourselves. And that is why reading a good book is so crucial. And now there was a time I was reading about 30, 40 books a year. But in between, somewhere in the past few years, I stopped reading that much. I started reading only 5, 6, 8, 10 books a year. But the other day I was cleaning up my office, and in my office, in my library, I got almost 250,000 books. Many libraries don't have that many books. And when I was cleaning up, I saw there were many books. I read half of them and kept like this. I started pulling them and I said, let me start reading books. And folks, I brought my books up. And the other night, I was reading the book all the way till 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I slept till 2 o'clock. But that's okay. My time was not wasted watching TV. Now, don't get me wrong. And I'm not here just preaching here. I made some mistakes myself. When the crisis took place, I also watched TV 8 hours, 10 hours for the first couple of days. And then I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're wasting time and wasting life. So we need to come back with reminders. Now, convert your TV time into productive time. And in fact, a lot to be learned from the government of Singapore. In fact, during this crisis, they've allocated a few $1 billion for reskilling, upskilling, reskilling, upskilling, reskilling, upskilling. And their logic is that this is downtime. When uptime was there, we didn't have the time. So now it is downtime. This is the time to upskill. When things will turn back and come back to normal, you will not need to reskill and upskill at that time. You will have a head start, jump start. These are far-sighted people. I spoke to a gentleman the other day. I said, what are you doing all through the day? He said, Earlier, I used to put in 8 hours a day. He says, now I'm working 10 to 12 hours a day. I said, really? He said, I'm preparing for the turnaround, and when time turns around, I'll have a jump start on everybody. Look at this. These are people who are positive thinkers. They're not fools. They're not idiots. They're not stupid. They understand what's going on out there. Now, a positive thinker doesn't mean they have to agree with everything or accept everything. But the only difference is a positive thinker is solution focused. That is the key. Okay, this is the way to cope with the crisis now. And step 4, how do we overcome depression? Because many people, even on the TV, are saying depression has gone up. And many times people say, I'm alone, I'm lonely, I'm bored, I'm lonely, I'm alone, and I'm bored. Now, folks, nothing personal. Please take it constructively. I learned one thing in my life. Only boring people are bored. Only boring people are bored. And this is the difference between being lonely and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the pleasure of being alone, which says, I enjoy my company. I'm alone, all right, but I'm at peace with myself, which I'll talk about, self-esteem. But people who are lonely, they feel lonely even amongst groups. And they're the ones who say, I feel depressed. Now, somebody said, what is the best way to get out of depression? Now, a world famous psychiatrist was a man by the name of Dr. Carl Menninger. The Menninger Clinic is still considered to be as probably one of the last word in psychiatry in US. So somebody asked Dr. Carl Menninger, Doc, if you knew for sure that one of your patients was coming up with an attack of depression, what would you prescribe as treatment? They were expecting that he would write some medication. And Dr. Menninger said, if I knew for sure that somebody was coming up with an attack of depression, I will tell them, go home, lock your home, go to the other side of town, find somebody who's in trouble, help them, and your depression will go away. And your depression will go away. He said, people who are busy all the time helping others, they don't get depressed. I work a lot with the Rotarians, the Roundtablers, and the Lions. And I've noticed one thing. They're so positive people. Every day, they're either setting a blood donation camp, eye camp, polio eradication, doing something all over the world. And I have yet to see anybody depressed in that groups. What a way to go overcome depression. Okay, step 5. Step 5 to overcome this, how would you cope with the crisis, is build positive relationships. Why? Because that is your support group in life. Build positive relationships personally and professionally. Why personally? Let me ask you, God forbid, if you ran into an accident or a problem or something severe, who will be next to you at that time? It is your closest, probably the relatives, right there. They are the closest people, your close friends and your close relatives. That is where this is time to build a strong bondage with them. We were looking for time. Now we have the time. This is a time to make a strong bond with them. And those who don't have the strong ties, this is a time to do it and build up. Otherwise, it will break. Now, I've learned one thing in my life. People who have strong relationships, they're much emotionally strong people. And they can handle stress much better because they have a support system. And people who have strong relationships, what they can achieve with one phone call, people with $1 million cannot achieve it. Now, come back. There are people, not only build strong relationship personally, but professionally also. And there are people who have learned the terminology of networking. I'm going network, and they network all the way. But sadly, They network and try to find out who could be useful. They're only takers. They are selfish, greedy people. And somehow or the other, people can smell them and they hate them. You see, people who are only takers in life can never build good relationships. They're only takers in life. Folks, networking is not only to go take. They find out they want to keep relationship with you so long as you are useful. Usefulness goes, relationship also goes. They are selfish people, greedy people. You don't want you to have a relationship with them. Now, one is personal relationships, two, professional relationships. This banker who came the other day, he said, Mr. Khera, you cannot even imagine how we are building relationship with our people, especially our senior citizens. He said, every senior citizen is being called and say, so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, we are part of essential services. We are open. You are locked down. It's difficult for you to get things there. But tell me, besides your banking, which we are doing right now, do you need anything else? Because we can come out, you can't come out. Look at this. He said our ties has become stronger. In fact, the other day I got a call from American Express calling me and said, Mr. Khera, I'm calling so-and-so from American Express. And my first thought was, buddy, I paid your bill last month. There's no new bill. He said, no, I'm not calling for bills. He said, I just checked your record. You are a platinum member since 1984. I just wanted to call and check how things are. I said, really? Now, that's all it was, nothing else. Now, though I should have asked, and later on, as an afterthought it came, had I said to him, well, if everything okay, if I said everything is not okay, what can you do for me anyway? And I was wondering what his reply he would give me. If I need medical assistance, maybe he could send an ambulance to me. Or if I need grocery in my home, could you arrange grocery to me? My guess is he might have said yes, but I didn't. But the fact is, this guy just called and said, I just want to check if everything is okay. Is there anything we could do for you? Interesting. What a way to build relationships. And the other day, I got a call out of the blues from a gentleman I had met about 10 years ago. I had a lot of respect for him. And when I got a call, it was a surprise, pleasant surprise. And he said, Mr. Khera, I've just called in. I was going through my records. I had connected with you 10 years ago and had a lot of respect for you, and we got disconnected. I'm just calling to reestablish my contact with you, and that's all, nothing more. When he said that, I felt guilty, and I started looking at my records, and I said, my God, look at this guy. He took the first step, called me, establishing relationship. I didn't. And shouldn't I do the same thing for many people that I disconnected? Immediately, I looked at my records and started looking at it and said, buddy, I need to reconnect with all these good people who I had a lot of respect for in the past. And we lost connection. And next one, you see, in building relationship, professional, somebody said, how can I build relationships which can help me jumpstart? And I told them, I said, here is one way. And that is, go look at your record of all the people who had done business with you 6 years ago. All the people you have done business in the past 6 years. Check out everybody's name and see how many people have not done any business in the last 2 years. Who've not done any business with you or in the last 1 year. Call all those people who have not done any business with you in the last 1 year and say, buddy, I see we did some business 6 years ago. I'm just calling in to check where did we go wrong, and I'd be grateful if you could just help me out to let us know where did we go wrong. I'm not calling for business. Don't say I'm calling to do business with you. Just check. I'll be grateful if you could help me out. I just want to see where did we go wrong somewhere. That's all. And besides, they will entertain your call because they have the time. Today, tomorrow they won't have a time. This will give you a head start. The moment the thing finishes, you will have a head start. You know something? there are so many ways of doing it right, building positive relationship personally and professionally. Next step. Become a proactive person, not a reactive person. Proactive. What does that mean? Many times we do our programs, 3-day leadership, 4-day leadership programs, and we ask people, are you a good person? Well, they say, yes, I'm good. Or if others think I'm good, I'm good. But all of a sudden, when you take them by surprise, sometimes people are lost. And sometimes you ask them, are you a good person? They say, yes, I'm good. Then you ask them a counter question, what makes you good? Then they say, well, I'm good because I don't do bad. I'm good because I don't cheat, I don't tell lies, I don't steal. Oh, and my answer to them is, that is not true. If you don't do bad, it doesn't mean you are good. You see, if I don't steal, it only means I'm not a thief, but that does not make me good. And if I don't cheat, it only means I'm not a cheat, but that does not make me good. If I don't tell lies, it only means I'm not a liar, but that does not make me good. Go ask a medical doctor. Absence of ill health does not mean good health. I repeat, absence of ill health does not mean good health. And just because we don't do bad does not make a person good. A person becomes good when they do good, which is called proactive. Now, why do I say this? You find anybody who is a good person or a good leader, they stand for something, but they also stand against something. They're not neutral. A good leader will always stand for something, but then they will also stand against something. If you stand for the good, you must stand against evil. Now, why do I share this with you? Very important reason. I have seen so much in news in the US, in the Europe, in India, anywhere. There are people who are spitting at the security forces, who are spitting at the doctors, beating them up, throwing stones at them, lacing the vegetables, lacing the fruits. They're spitting on the pizza deliveries. In my opinion, they are called enemies of humanity. I have no compassion for them. I have no compassion for them. No compassion. Now, I'll share with you, a few years ago, I was doing a program in a large auditorium. There were 5,000 people. And one person came up and he said, Mr. Khera, are you a Gandhian? Now, I learned one thing in my life, that unless you clarify the question, one should not answer. And two, many times the answer to a question is a question. So I asked this man, can you tell me what are the criteria of being a Gandhian? What makes a Gandhian? What are the principles of being a Gandhian? He said, three principles. One, Gandhi believed that with love, you can win everybody in this world. That was one principle of Gandhi. Number two, Gandhi believed in tolerance. Number three, Gandhi believed in non-violence. Three pillars of Gandhi. So again, he asked me, are you a Gandhian? I don't know impulsively what came to my mind at that point. So I asked him, I said, look, at least we Indians, to us, our epics, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana, they are sacred to us. So I just asked him, was Ram a Gandhian? Was Ram a Gandhian? Now, let us see, did Ram qualify on 3 accounts? Did he meet the Gandhi principle? Number 1, I said, was Ram able to win with love? Answer is, no, he was not. Number 2, did Ram say, I'm very tolerant? You kidnap my wife away, it's okay, I'll tolerate you. Did he say that? Or he said, I do not tolerate kidnappers? And he said, did he say, I'm very tolerant, you took my wife away, it's okay, I'll get a second one? Or you take that one, I'll get a third one, you take a third one, I'll get a fourth one? Did he say that? He said, no, 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 no. I don't tolerate kidnappers. And third, Gandhi's principle was non-violence. What did Ram do? Now, even for self-defense, he had to use the weapon and destroy the evil. Now, you don't call it non-violence. It was violence, but in self-defense. Now, one very clear example, obviously, Ram was not a Gandhian. Now, look at entire Sikh history. Our Guru Gobind Singh Sahib, the 10th Guru, when there was Mughals were forcibly converting people, was the 10th Guru, was he able to win everybody with love? Answer is no. Did he say, I will tolerate your oppression? He said, no, I will not tolerate your oppression. And 3, he pulled out the weapon. Obviously, he was not a Gandhian either. And I said that anybody who does not stand up to protect the respect and dignity of their own people, if they don't stand up, they're cowards. And I said, I am not a Gandhian. I am not a Gandhian. We need to understand what we are talking here. Okay. Step 7. To cope with the stress and the crisis, we must be emotionally strong. And to be emotionally strong, we must have high self-esteem. High self-esteem. Now, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the way we feel about ourselves. When we feel good, the world looks nice, productivity goes up, and relationships are a lot better, aren't they? And the reverse is just as true. And self-esteem is inversely related to egos. Have you seen people with egos like a know-it-all? What do? They talk down to people, don't they? They put down others, don't they? And every decision they make is more to satisfy ego than makes sense. Now think about it. Why does a human being put down another human being? It is sadistic but true. There are some people in this world who feel good when the other person feels bad. They feel superior when the other person feels inferior, which means they don't want to lift themselves up, but they want to pull others down. And there's a second kind of ego, which is called fragile ego. Anything you say, I take it personally and I get hurt. And we talk of relationship, overcoming stress, teamwork. What do both these egos do to them? They destroy it. Now, let me share with you, when we do our 3-day, 4-day programs and 5-day programs, we put in 5 hours on self-esteem. It is the crux. Now, the driving force behind self-esteem is self-acceptance. And low self-esteem is inadequacy. There's a void, there's a gap. Now, self-acceptance says what? Self-acceptance says, I accept myself the way I am. Now, this doesn't mean arrogance. This doesn't mean complacence. This doesn't mean that's the way I am, that's the way I will be. That's arrogance. And this doesn't say take it or leave it. That's arrogance. But self-esteem is the epitome of humility. It says, How I came to this world, I don't know, but I'm here. And I'm here to stay. And I realize I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I made mistakes. I apologize for my mistakes. I seek forgiveness for my mistakes. I learn from my mistakes. I will not repeat my mistakes. I am not proud of my mistakes, but I am not a mistake. I accept myself with my pluses and minuses. Now, doesn't mean I'm not going to improve, but it says I am human. I'm not perfect. I realize that this is called self-acceptance. But low self-esteem, which is called inferiority complex, is driven by inadequacy. You see, people with low self-esteem, they have to prove something. They have an identity crisis. You see, they feel good when you feel bad. They feel superior when you feel inferior, which means they don't want to lift themselves up, but they want to pull others down. Look at just what recently happened with the lockers room and then the boys' things, and how the dignity and respect of the girls and many other people, the way it has been played around. What kind of people would do it? Only people with low self-esteem. These are people, not only do they abuse others, they abuse themselves too. They abuse others because they feel good when you feel bad. And why would they abuse themselves? You know why? They have no self-respect. Now, self-respect is not ego. Self-respect is positive. You know something? I do some work with schools and colleges, and we share with people that people who have low self-esteem, they become self-abusive also. They abuse others and abuse themselves. They become chain smokers. They become alcoholics. They become drug addicts. Now, let me ask you, what is chain smoking? What is alcoholism? What is drug addiction? Is it not self-abuse? Now, if you respected yourself, would you abuse yourself? You know something? It is 5,000% a self-esteem issue. And you would not abuse yourself, you would not abuse others either. And what you have seen recently, what has happened in the social media and everywhere, this is totally abuse. Total abuse. Now, let me share with you on self-esteem, which is built on self-acceptance. I'll share with you an example of Charlie Chaplin. Once, Charlie Chaplin was going through Europe, and he saw a big hoarding, and it said, Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. So he went in. Total out of inquisitiveness, he said, let me also participate. And he did. And guess what? He lost. He came 7. And he started thinking, the real one loses and the fake one wins. But then he started thinking, he said, but I'm the only one who knows who's the real one here anyway. Then he thought, should I tell them? Then he said, why do I need to tell them? Am I here to prove anything to anybody that I'm the real one and make them look small? He said, no, I don't need to do that. He said, I know my identity. I have to prove nothing to anyone here. And he walked away. He said, I am at peace with myself. I have to prove nothing. Now, keep in mind, high self-esteem is the epitome of humility. I accept myself the way I am. It's not arrogance. It is humility. I made mistakes. I make mistakes. I apologize. I seek forgiveness. I am not proud of my mistakes. I learn from them. I will not repeat them. But I am not a mistake because I am at peace with myself. God does not make mistakes. Remember that. Okay. Now, step next. To overcome the crisis is, folks, stay away from blind faith leading to superstition. I repeat, stay away from blind faith leading to superstition. Folks, one of the biggest damage our media has done to this country is anytime you open up a newspaper or TV, all you see is what? Horoscope. Everybody's sitting there with some kind of a saffron clothes and with some kind of all kinds of different things on the hair and head. And the guy is Guru, Mahatma, anything. Now, faith is good, but blind faith leading to superstition is not good. Folks, interestingly, I'll share with you example what I saw, and had I not seen, probably I might not have believed it. Have you noticed there are some Swamis and Mahatmas, thousands of people there, and they're giving the problem, and the Swamiji says, "Did you have jalebi yesterday?" No. He said, "That's the problem." "Oh, did you have a golgappa yesterday?" "Yes, I did." "Which chutney did you have? Red or white? Red or green?" Green." "Oh, that's the problem." You know something? You open up, there are people, Swamis, always, and there are something they're selling preet. There are some Swamis selling honey, and some people are selling honey preet together, all mixed up together. Now, you open up the TV and they ask you, "Where are you speaking from? What is your date of birth? What is your time?" And the guy said, "Guruji, I don't know." He said, "Don't worry, I'll take it out." And he does tick, 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 tick. And he does whatever calculation. And he says, Shani, 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 Shani. There's Shani on you now. And then he says, "How do you get rid of it? I'll tell you the solution, Upai." And that is, get a black rumal and then put a black dal and then put a kajal, black kajal, and find a person with black hair and do 6 times, and find a black dog and then find a black bartan. And this is how they're doing. If it was so easy to get chani in and out and in and out and in and out, then why don't we send shani to all these places where the terrorists, Pakistan, and get rid of all the terrorists in one go? Be done with it. You know something? If you look at the life histories of Swami Vivekananda, Swami Dayanand, Guru Nanak, they never believed in all these things. And if you look at Guru Nanak, he fought against superstition in all Sikh families. There is no good omen. They never tally horoscopes, and all their weddings are done on a Sunday. Sunday doesn't sit right, they do it on a Saturday. Saturday doesn't sit right, they do it on Friday. They're all good omens for them. You know, the sad part is that when things go wrong, and instead of analyzing and learning from it, people blame stars. And they don't learn anything from that situation. And then what they do, they keep repeating the same mistake again and again and again and again. It weakens people. I would highly recommend that. About a year ago, there was an article that came out in India Today. I strongly recommend that people should read it. And he said in India, the childbirths through operation and C-section has gone up drastically. And then they specially quoted 3 places: Bangalore, Hyderabad, South India, and Madras. 80%, hear that carefully, 80% of childbirths there in South India are through C-section operation. 80%. You know why? Because some astrologer said that's the time to pull out the kid. This is what is making people weak. Faith is good. Blind faith leading to superstition is not good at all. It weakens people. Okay, now, lastly, I'm going to share with you the last item, and that is, this is the time to give back to society. This is the time to give back. I noticed, and I saw on the TV many times, the news, there are many people all over the world. There's some good people, very good people, and they're doing a lot of good for humanity. That is true. But hats off, I salute the Sikh community as a community. The kind of work they do for humanity all over the world is unbelievable, and they have been applauded in New Zealand, Australia, UK, US, Canada, everywhere. Their concept of caring and sharing is unbelievable. Even before the crisis came, hundreds of thousands of people were having food every day, longer, the hungry people. And after the crisis, probably 250,000, 500,000 people are having food every day. And they never said, I have a limit, no limit. Carry on. You know why? As a community, the Sikh community, they're caring people. 2, they're sharing people. And 3, they're daring people. They care, they share, and they dare. They have the guts and courage to overcome and fight oppression. They're caring, sharing, and daring people. Now, give back time. And there is a Gurdwara here. They are feeding so many thousands of people per day. And whatever contribution we can make every day, we make a contribution every day. But there was a man by the name of Lafayette in France. He had warehouses full of grains. A major drought came in, and some of his advisors said to him, Mr. Lafayette, this is the time to multiply your money 100 times. They're all starving. They'll pay you anything. They'll sell everything and yet pay you for food grains. And you know what Lafayette said? There was good time in life. They were laughing, we were laughing. They were laughing, we were laughing. They were making money, we were making money. He says, this is not time to multiply money. This is the time to open up all the warehouses. Let them take it free. This is the time to do it. You know something? These are the kind of people who keep this world going. Lastly, I was doing a program for some very high net worth people. Now, how do I classify very high net worth? These are people who have a 250 million, 500 million, billion. They are in hundreds of millions. That's very high net worth. So one person asked me, Mr. Khera, when people have so much money, billions, why do they still keep working and still want to make more money? I said, my friend, there are 2 kinds of people. One is suffering from inferiority complex. And this person is keeping a score. He keeps up with the Joneses. How come they have this? I don't have it. How come they have this? I don't have it. How come they have this? I don't have it. How come they have this? I don't have it. This guy has a 50 million. I must have 100 million. He has 100 million. I must have 200 million. He has 200 million. I must have 300 million. He has 300. I must have 400. You see, they are assessing, measuring self-worth by net worth. They don't understand that people make things, things don't make people. I think Warren Buffett made a very nice statement. And these are people who have billion, but they're only making billions to keep a score, because I must be higher than him. If he's higher than me, I'm inferior. Their self-esteem is still rotten. They are donkeys. Somebody said, in fact, I believe it was Warren Buffett, he said, you see, if you cart golden bricks on a donkey, he does not become a golden donkey. And if you cart scriptures on a donkey, he does not become a spiritual donkey. So just because this person has made a billion, he still is a donkey anyway. With a billion, that's all. Now, interestingly, that's one breed of people who keep making money and they sit like a snake on the treasure and will not do anything for society. That's the person I would never want to call them for a meal in my house. But there's a second breed of people who have tons and tons and billions, but they want to make more. You know why? They feel I can share and serve society much more. Look at Warren Buffett. I can stand corrected on the figures. I believe he had $38 billion. He gave 37 to charity, kept one. Bill Gates had 33 billion. He gave 32 billion to foundation, kept one. Look at Premji, 50,000 crores. He's just given in charity recently in the last few months. Interesting. There are people like that too. You know something, folks? That is why money becomes important. But there are some people who say money is not important. I've written in my book, people who say money is not important, either they're stupid or they're billionaires. You know something? I'm not saying money is the most important thing, but money is important because I learned one thing in my life. Money in good hands always does good. And money in evil hands will always do evil in life. And I feel it is the moral obligation of every good human being to become a multi-millionaire and a billionaire. Because in good hands, money will always do good. And evil hands, money will always do evil. Now, out of this crisis, see, folks, we have time. Out of this crisis, if we don't come out upskilled or more knowledgeable or fitter and healthier, then we cannot complain that we didn't have time. It only means we did not have the commitment and self-discipline. I repeat, earlier people say I didn't have the time. But today, if out of this crisis 1.5 months, if we have not come out upskilled or better skilled, 2, if we have not come out more knowledgeable, and 3, if we have not come out healthier and fitter, we cannot blame that we did not have time. But we lack self-discipline and commitment. Now, all I can say is one thing in the closing here, that when we work with many schools and colleges, see, as somebody said, in fact, we have a little title, if you prepare and prevent, you won't have to repair and repent, which is, if all this that I'm sharing here, if all this was taught in our schools and colleges, I repeat, if all this was taught in our schools and colleges, probably all these people, the educationists, by the way, and there are many people principals who talk to me and they say, Mr. Khera, or parents who talk to me and they say, Mr. Khera, talk to our kids. Their values are messed up. Discipline is messed up. And you know what my answer is? No. It's not the kids that are messed up. It is the parents who are messed up. And sadly, they say, well, talk to our kids. I said, tell me, why don't you train this to your teachers? Why don't you train to your principals? Why don't you train your trustees? Because it starts from there. And we created a program called Prepare, Don't Repair. If you prepare them, you won't have to repair them. And which is really saying, how do we accelerate success and achieve more? How do we accelerate? Empower your people. Empower your people. Give them confidence, not arrogance. Build high self-esteem. Gain confidence. And how to make integrity, respect, and responsibility a way of life. This is missing today. How can we make integrity, respect, and responsibility a way of life? And empower them. How do we build strong relationships? Today, our youth is so tech savvy, they can spend hours and hours and hours in front of on the computer. They can spend hours. But you know, that's a good part that they can. But the flip side is they're so comfortable with the computers today, they're uncomfortable with people. We need to reevaluate what are we doing education-wise. And that is why Mr. Lawrence from NTAB spoke to me and he said, Mr. Khera, you have a program for the students. I said, yes, students, educationists, and parents. Because You see, unless education and parents get involved, just the student alone will not do the job. Culture starts from the top. Where do you think they're learning all that stuff? We have a program called Repair and Prevent, Don't Repair and Repent. And there are, I'll just read out to you: make integrity a way of life, empower yourself and gain confidence, grow by creating a culture of trust and accountability. Today, tell me, trust is the most crucial part, and everybody out there is, what is the biggest challenge? Accountability is missing. Build high self-esteem, overcome stress, avoid pitfalls. See, folks, all of us have made mistakes in life, and I want to share that in one of my books I wrote in that there has been degradation of values. Somebody asked me, that's a blanket statement, you need to qualify, how is that? And I said one thing: look, we all have made mistakes in life. We all have made mistakes. But the difference is, when we made a mistake earlier, we used to have a remorse. But today, when people make a mistake, their remorse is not because they made a mistake. Their remorse is, why did I get caught? That's called degradation. And go check out all over the world. The average age of the criminal has gone down. If that is not degradation, what is degradation? And folks, sad part is that today's the kids, the parents, they have cars worth crores of rupees, crores. And they have a competition between each other. Who's got a bigger car? How many crores a car is it? And they go for vacation, spend 25, 35, 45 lakhs, vacation to Switzerland everywhere. And they buy designer jeans and designer shoes, and they spend 40, 50,000 bucks. The kids are saying that give us values. Values are more precious than valuables out there. Values are more important than valuables that you're giving us today. And tomorrow, when these kids get messed up, it'll be the parents' fault, not the kids alone. And folks, with that, I would stop here. How to turn a setback into a comeback. We have a program starting out on the 25th of May. It's a 5-day program online. 5-day program online. We're going to do 2 hours per day in the evening from 5 to 7 in the evening, because probably many schools have online programs for the curriculums. They can do it, and most of them are done by 2:30 or 3 o'clock. But we can start here from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock for a 5-day program, and we will address issues on attitude, leadership, motivation, and values. And it's a 5-day program, and it is limited to the first 100 participants only. And people who enroll into the program tonight and up to tomorrow night, means tomorrow, 12th night, midnight, 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., their investment for them is $30,000 plus GST. And anybody enrolls after that, it'll be 40,000 rupees plus GST. But we will take the first 100 people, and after 100 people, even if you want to put in 40,000, I'm sorry, we will not accept it. We will not accept it. So with those words, I just want to thank Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Himanshu here. They have been always involved into the education and bringing a value addition to our community. And God bless them, and all the viewers listening. Stay well, stay happy, and God bless. I'll pass it on to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, there you go, folks. So a wonderful session by sir, and enlightening.
On our website is there, and your website.
All right. So we're going to leave the details on the video. It is if you want to prepare your children, you won't have to repair your children, right? So nowadays, it's very important that the values and ethics, integrity, respect, and responsibility are built in the society. And after that incident of boys' locker room, NTAB thought of, because since we have always believed in creating value and adding value to the education, Thus, we brought on board Mr. Shiv Khera. You know what? It's actually very interesting because normally he charges $15,000 per hour. His normal fees is $15,000. And it's because of us, because of NTAB, and because he wants to do good in the society. That's why the fees has been reduced. The first 24 hours, it will only be 30,000 rupees and plus GST. And after 12 a.m. midnight tomorrow, after that, it will be 40,000 rupees. So, guys, the link of the payment and everything of the website will be there right now, and it's there on Shiv Khera sir website. It will also be presented on NTAB website. So make sure you guys go immediately rush. All right. So it was pleasure having Shiv Khera sir here, and thank you for staying with us, guys. Hit that subscribe button. There's a bell icon near to it. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day.